It's another edition of Time About the Movies, and today we're taking a look at the films of October 11th, 1996. And speaking of 11, that's how many movies we have to look at today. I was hoping maybe that there'd be some movies that I couldn't find any clips for. I could just easily avoid them, but nope. 11 movies to look at, so let's not waste any time whatsoever. We have a lot of movies to get to, so let's just go ahead and jump on into it. We'll start off with the biggest new release of the weekend, The Ghost in the Darkness, starring Michael Douglas and Val Kilmer. So this comes to us from Stephen Hopkins, the director of Nightmare on Elm Street 3, I believe. Nightmare on Elm Street. It was either 3 or 4. Let me double check here. I was not even close. It was Nightmare on Elm Street 5. He also did Predator 2, which is a pretty good sequel. Judgment Night, kind of a very underrated film, and then Blown Away, which is not a very good movie. And this movie here is, I'll give it this. It wasn't as bad as The Island of Dr. Moreau, but it certainly wasn't a great film either. It was actually written by William Goldman, who actually has another movie we'll be talking about in just a little bit here. You got a basic story here about the Tsavo man-eaters, which are a pair of male lions that terrorized workers in and around Tsavo, Kenya, during the building of the Uganda-Mombasa Railway in East Africa in 1898. And you got Michael Douglas and Val Kilmer playing this colonel, and also this who's the other? Who did Val Kilmer play? I can't remember. It's been a long time since I've seen this movie, and from what I remember from it, I did enjoy it. I didn't think it was anything that spectacular, but I got some value out of it. I thought some of the action sequences were nicely done. I thought the performances were okay for the most part. The set pieces are very nicely done. But other than that, though, it's a movie I've largely forgotten about. It's been like maybe 10 years since I've seen this movie. I haven't seen it since then. But from what I remember from it, I did kind of enjoy it, but at the same time, it's not something I'd ever want to go back to. It was kind of one of those one-watch type of things. But from what I remember from it, I don't think it was the worst ever, but it certainly wasn't one I really wanted to check out again anytime soon. So, take that for what you will. It's a film that I've largely forgotten about, but from what I did remember, kind of liked it, but have nothing really else to really go for it. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that good for a one-time watch, but you'll probably never want to watch it again. So, let's go to a much better movie, probably the best new release of the weekend that we have here, and that is Geena Davis and Samuel L. Jackson in Rennie Harlin's The Long Kiss Goodnight. Certainly a much better movie for both Rennie Harlin and Geena Davis after Cutthroat Island was a huge disappointment. And this is just a great, great movie. It's a great action thriller. It's a great comedic action thriller. You got Geena Davis and Samuel L. Jackson in this. You see Brian Cox in there as well, Craig Bierko, David Morse. And it's written and produced by Shane Black. I mean, Shane Black is a damn good writer, and it shows here. Like, he combines both the more comedic and dramatic moments as well as the action moments in here. He puts them all together very well in most of the stuff that he writes for, and it delivers really damn good stuff here. There's a lot of great moments in here. It's a really damn good movie. I wish I could say anything new that hasn't been said already about it, but honestly, everybody's pretty much already said that this is a pretty damn good movie. The pieces are definitely there. Shane Black, Rennie Harlin, Geena Davis, Samuel Jackson, just that meshing together just amounted to a really damn good movie that was both very funny, very well written, very action-packed, very dramatic. It's just working on so many levels, and I wish I had some more to tell you, but honestly, there isn't any more I could probably add to this that hasn't already been said already. If you haven't seen this movie, I highly recommend checking it out. The Long Kiss Goodnight, definitely a really damn good movie that deserves a lot more attention. But you probably already know that, since most of you have probably seen it already. But anyway, let's go ahead and take a look at the next film, and that is Gene Hackman and Chris O'Donnell in John Grisham's The Chamber. Universal trying to capitalize on two other John Grisham movies that have been John Grisham books that have been turned into successful movies: The Firm and The Client, and also Time to Kill, 3 movies actually. Got Chris O'Donnell from Batman Forever, Gene Hackman. We had looked at a couple movies of his from a couple weeks ago in Extreme Measures, which was not a very good movie. And this is also written by William Goldwyn, and Ghost written by Phil Olden Robinson, who actually wrote it under the pseudonym Chris Reese. And usually when you do that, it usually means the movie probably isn't all that great. And I think this was around the time that they were getting on people for using Alan Smithy's name for a project that they didn't believe in. And when you watch the film, you could definitely see why. This is a major, major miscalculation, not only for Ron Howard and Brian Grazer, who are the producers, but for James Foley. I mean, James Foley did Glengarry Glen Ross, and in this year, he also did the far superior film Fear. I mean, William Goldwyn's a great writer. John Grisham, usually when you usually when you turn his stuff into movies, it usually turns into good stuff. But here, this is just something that we've seen done over and over again. It's not creative. It's not very well written. It's a shame too, because you're wasting so much talent in here. Not only Chris O'Donnell, Gene Hackman, Faye Dunaway's in this movie, Leela Roshan, Raymond J. Barry, Robert Prosky, just a phenomenal cast in here. And they're just kind of wasted here. It just felt like that Universal was just trying to copy the successes that both Paramount and WB had when they adapted their Grisham's other stories, The Firm, The Klein, and A Time to Kill. But those were done a whole lot better because they had better writers on there, they had better talent on there, cast-wise, directing-wise. Here, the script here just really wasn't all that strong. I feel like they just took one of John Grisham's stories and just said, we need to make our own hit based off of one of his works. And sadly, they picked a story that's been done to death so many times. They don't really bring anything new to the table here, and it just kind of falls apart pretty quickly. Not much more you can say about that one. The Chamber is one that's largely been forgotten. So, on to the next film. Liam Neeson as Michael Collins. Yeah, spoiler alert, Liam Neeson did not get an Academy Award nomination for Best Actor here, and it's a shame because he really is one of the stronger parts of the movie. In fact, the movie itself isn't terrible, but it does fall back into the category of the Oscar baitish movies, the movies that are trying to push themselves for awards bait. I mean, they've got a really good cast here, not just Liam Neeson, Aidan Quinn, Stephen Ray, Alan Rickman, and Julia Roberts in this movie. I mean, stacked cast right there. Neil Jordan coming off The Crying Game. I think this was actually this is actually the film that he did after Interview with a Vampire, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just double check here. Yeah, Interview with a Vampire, and then before that, it was The Crying Game. But as far as the movie itself goes, I feel like that's one of the I feel like the best thing about the movie was the performances, and the story itself felt kind of generic. Apparently, there was a lot of historical inaccuracies to the story too. And, I don't know, it just felt like a movie that just felt like an Oscar bait film. The effort wasn't really there to put a good script together. They just said, hey, let's get something so we can get some awards talk for this. And sadly, it didn't work out for them. The movie itself isn't bad per se. The performances, I think, carry it through. But the story itself is nothing all that special. It's nothing all that engaging. And it just feels like it's just passable at best here. It's not a bad movie, but it's not a great film overall either. So, that's Michael Collins. On to the next film, another star-studded film here, The Grass Harp. I mean, a pretty stacked cast right there, and this is based off of one of Truman Capote's stories. This is set in a 1940s Alabama town. You follow this guy who is sent to live with his father's mated cousins, the sweet Dolly and the overbearing Verena, following the death of his mother, and he soon discovers that the Talbot household is anything but normal, and after losing his father, I should say, he grows close to this girl and this maid and becomes acquainted with the eccentric town people, from the gossip-loving barber to a traveling evangelist with 15 illegitimate offsprings. And to escape the oppression of Verena, they run away to an old treehouse in the woods, and the rebellion sparks a series of events that change their lives and the entire town as well. I mean, that cast right there, Piper Laurie, Sissy Spacek, Edward Furlong, Nell Carter, Walter Matthau, and Jack Lemmon. It's interesting to see them in this movie. Roddy McDowell, Mary Steenburgen, Sean Patrick Flannery, Joe Don Baker, Mia Kirshner, Charles Durning, Doris Roberts. There's a great cast involved here. I don't really know if the movie's any good or not because I haven't seen the film, but that cast alone makes it kind of interesting to see, but I don't know. I don't know if it's any good or not. I think the reviews for it were pretty good for it, but it's largely been forgotten because it wasn't a big hit. I don't know. I mean, it could go either way. I've never seen it before, and that's really all I can say about it, is that it came out this weekend, and it's got a good enough cast that makes me kind of want to see it. But, so that's The Grass Harp. On to the next movie, and that is Trees Lounge. Another movie I haven't seen before, but it's got a pretty good cast to it. You got Steve Buscemi starring in, writing, and directing as well. Anthony LaPaglia, Chloe Sevigny, Samuel Jackson, Debbie Mazar, Mimi Rogers, Carol Kane, Seymour Cassell. I mean, there's a really good cast here. The story, I think, basically is around the examination of these characters' self-destructive behavior, revolving around their shared hangout of the titular bar and lounge. And what I found interesting about this was that supposedly this was the inspiration for David Chase to create The Sopranos, which Buscemi would later join the series as a director. He directed a couple of episodes and starred in the series during the fifth season. So that's kind of interesting to note about this film. But other than that, though, I don't really know too much about it. It's got some good reviews to it, so maybe it is actually a pretty good movie. And so I wish I had some more to tell you about it, but again, haven't seen it, so I can't really say if it's good or not. But judging by the reviews I see for it, I doubt it's anything that bad. So let's go ahead and take a look at the next movie, and that is Microcosmos. I used to see the video cover for this all over the place, at this mantis on the front there, and they actually show it in the light, but I had no idea what this movie was. Apparently, it's unlike a number of other nature documentaries. This doesn't have like a narrative for most of the runtime, only has a couple of brief passages of narration, and it basically kind of has the story of dealing with insects and other small invertebrates, and features just music, and it sounds like an intriguing concept, honestly. I'm just kind of curious of how they did this story without really a whole lot of dialogue. And maybe it's something kind of similar to like The Bear, where they just took a lot of footage from all these different scenes involving this bear and put a narrative around it. I think they did kind of the same thing to that. So I don't know. This could actually be something pretty interesting. Like I said, I used to see the video cover for this so many times back in the 90s, but I just never got around to seeing the film. But my interest is kind of piqued on this one. I kind of want to see what this one is like. So let's go ahead and take a look at the next movie, Beautiful Thing. It sounds like kind of a simple premise. You got this guy who is gay, and he has to kind of deal with the trials and tribulations of trying to fit in with this notion. But what I think is kind of interesting about this movie is that the atmosphere of it is very heavily influenced by the soundtrack, consisting almost entirely of the music of the Mamas and Papas and also Mama Cass Elliot, which is why in the trailer you hear, California Dreaming and Make Your Own Kind of Music, two very good songs. And I think they play very well to set up this movie here. I've never seen this movie before, but yeah, it doesn't look like it's a bad movie. It actually looks pretty intriguing, honestly. Like, it looks like it could be a very solid film. I don't really know too much about it. I've never seen it, so I don't really know if it's any good or not, but this trailer definitely had my interest for it. Another quick review on that one, because I haven't seen it. But the next movie I've definitely seen, it's Al Pacino in the documentary Looking for Richard. And the reason why I've seen this movie is because about almost 10 years ago, honestly, when I went to Half Price Books for one of their Black Friday sales, they had a box set called Pacino, An Actor's Vision, and this was one of the movies on that set, probably the most notable movie on that set. And it's a very interesting looking documentary that I got a chance to see, and it basically is a hybrid film. You have both a film performance of selected scenes of William Shakespeare's Richard III, which Al Pacino was in, and a documentary element which explores the broader element of Shakespeare's continued role and relevance in pop culture. And you got all these different celebrity cameos in here: Vanessa Redgrave, Kenneth Branagh, John Gielgud, Derek Jacobi, James Earl Jones, Kevin Kline, Alec Baldwin's in there, so is Aidan Quinn, Winona Ryder, Kevin Spacey. Like, there's a lot of people in this movie. It's a very interesting look in adapting William Shakespeare's work for modern times, which coincidentally Fox would actually have is the big adaptation of William Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet come out the very same month, which we'll eventually get to in a couple of weeks. But this is a pretty interesting documentary. That said, I was talking about Pacino and Actor's Vision. It actually is a really good set. There's 3 other movies in there. I can't remember the names of them at this moment, but I highly recommend looking for that set. I found it at the half price books are about maybe $25, which you can probably get it cheaper nowadays. But if you can find it, definitely get it, and definitely watch this movie. You will not be disappointed by it at all. It's a really good documentary. So go ahead and check that out. So let's go ahead and take a look at the next movie, Love Is All There Is. Speaking of Romeo and Juliet, here's another modern retelling of Romeo and Juliet, this time set in the Bronx, where you have the Capalmezzos, who are Bronx-born Sicilians. They own a local catering business, and their son falls in love with the Melisse's daughter, and lo and behold, it's basically the staging of Romeo and Juliet in modern times. And I think it got overshadowed definitely by the Baz Luhrmann film, but really good cast in this one. Lainie Kazan, Paul Sorvino, Angelina Jolie, Renee Taylor, William Hickey, Dick Van Patten, Ava Gona, Connie Stevens, Joy Behar. There is a good cast in this movie. I just don't know anything about it. I never even knew it even existed until I looked it up. So, I don't know. I don't know if it's any good. I don't see any reviews from where I'm looking at right now, but I mean, it does look like it could be pretty funny if given the right people involved in it. I don't know these two other directors' works, Joseph Bologna and Renee Taylor, who are also in the cast as well. But like I said, I don't know if it's any good or not. But I just saw it there, bring it up here. On to the last film, and that is Bitter Sugar. Directed by the same guy that did Sugar Hill with Wesley Snipes a couple years prior. Shot in black and white, filmed in Santa Monica, starring a cast of Cuban-American immigrants. Through it uses also archival footage from Cuba. Never heard of this movie before I looked it up, so I can't really tell you if it's any good or not, but the trailer for it did have some intriguing elements to it, but again, I don't really know too much about this one, so I can't really say if it's good or not, so, again, I wish I had some more for you, but that's another quick one right there, so, that's Bitter Sugar. I wish I had some more for you. And we finally did it. We got through all 11 movies on that edition. But next time I'm talking about the movies, we've got 5 movies to look at, including Sleepers. We also have Spike Lee's Get on the Bus, To Jillian on her 37th birthday, Swingers with Vince Vaughn and Jon Favreau, and also Jude. So 5 movies to look at next time around, and we'll delve into those on the next episode. But until then, thank you very much for watching, and if you want to see more videos like this, please hit the playlist on the next page, check out the previous episode, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for another episode. So thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time, and until then, as always, take care.